Welcome back to the Important Nonsense Podcast. 32 teams in 32 days. Neil Smith, Mike Manning, Jason Draven still can't point. Still can't point. Failed at it twice in a row. The original version of this show was deleted and lost to the sands of time, and I still can't figure out which way of pointing. I've done 30 of these at this point, 31 now, and I've done this for years. Still can't point. Don't know what's wrong with me. Can't figure out my left from my right. Anyway, Neil Smith, Mike Manning, Jason Draven here, back again, doing what we do, breaking down every team in the NFL, getting you ready for your fantasy drafts that will be happening here in just a couple days at this point by the time you're hearing this. Today is the 23rd of August as we record this, so if anything we say sounds dated, that would be why. Tune into the wrap-up show on the 1st of September where we will update any takes that need updating and do one last pass around the league, get everybody prepped and officially ready to go for their drafts. Couple quick PSAs. This is based around 12-team redraft, PPR, standard size rosters, 16-round draft, the new standard, as it were, the gods format, as I refer to it. It's the right way to play if you're not going to play keeper or dynasty. If you're going to play straight redraft, play that format. Any rankings we reference, the base rankings for this show come from Fantasy Pros and their ECR. We are all part of the Fantasy Pros ECR. We will reference our own rankings along the way. Shout out to Fantasy Pros. Love being affiliated with you guys, and thanks for sponsoring this. The other person that we need to thank is Player Profiler. They provide us the depth charts for this. Shout out to Jack Kavanaugh. Appreciate your work as always. Hope you're well. And finally, check us out at importantnonsense.com. Register to be a member. Get access to our Discord. If you ask Jason nicely and you're a Discord member, he might let you into the OnlyFans. Wait. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm being told not to talk about the OnlyFans. Forget that. Forget all that. Ask Jason about the OnlyFans.
Steve's just a stickler. It's just rude.
He's a stickler. He doesn't like hearing about that. But check us out. We have all kinds of awesome stuff going on back there. Ask us questions. Talk to us. We'll give you advice. We'll answer questions. We'll chop it up. We also talk about movies, probably more than is healthy. Also,
Oppenheimer.
I saw. You also get access to behind the paywall, all kinds of good stuff back there, betting advice. Mike Manning's cornerback wide receiver column that comes out every week, super helpful tool. And then all the other stuff but the big new addition is for $5. We will do a bespoke review of your team as a podcast. We will literally break down your team and your league. Look at the waiver wire, look at your roster, recommend some trades. We'll do a full deep dive. I'll pack a room for you. You want another one? Hand me $5 more. $5. We'll do it for all your teams. I don't care. So if you're trying to win your league and you want some custom personalized advice, more than just asking questions, if you want a full deep dive, we will do that for you. So I'm looking forward to seeing how many people take us up on that. We've already had some kind of low level interest. So get them in now, guys. Get them in now. Get on the list. So I'm looking forward to how that's all going to go. What I'm less looking forward to is this show, because today we are contractually obligated to talk about the Tennessee Titans, or as I refer to them, the AFC Vikings, the team that does not change. It's the same roster every year. It's really depressing that we have to keep having this conversation. Speaking of things that don't change, the quarterback is still Ryan Tannehill. Yes, that Ryan Tannehill from Miami, 36-year-old Ryan Tannehill. He opens as the QB 25. By ranking, that would translate to him being drafted at about 189. His actual ADP is 197. So he's right on the cut line of having an actual ADP. In your league, he might actually be drafted right at the end of the draft by somebody who needs a backup quarterback. Mike, I'm not even going to bury the lead. I'm not interested in rostering Ryan Tannehill. Does anyone have any enthusiasm for Ryan Tannehill at this point in his career?
None.
Boo! Go home.
That was unequivocal. I love it. That was unequivocal.
Tannehill is what would his career be like if he stayed at wide receiver?
Oh God, it's a good question. He'd be out of the league by now. He's too slow.
I mean,
and he's not a good enough route runner, and his hands weren't good enough. What I'm more the one thing you might get with Ryan Tannehill is a little bit of rushing, because he does run some. The older he gets, the lower it goes. The problem is you don't get the rushing you want. It's not designed runs; it's scrambles. And also, Derrick Henry is still on this team, so he doesn't get red zone carries. You're not going to get the good rushing for Tannehill. You get a little bit, But really, you're banking on him being able to throw enough touchdowns and do it with his arm. And to be honest with you, given his age and the weapons and the fact that this is going to be kind of a bad team and the defense is going to be bad, there's very, very little reason for optimism around Tannehill. There's a reason that he's borderline not drafted in your league. I mean, you're talking about Tannehill is going around guys like Sam Howell, Jimmy Garoppolo, Brock Purdy, Kenny Pickett.
I'd take every single one of those over him.
Yeah,
in a heartbeat.
I wouldn't blame you. I really wouldn't blame you at that point. So the only thing you could say about Tannehill is he's good enough to put the ball in Derrick Henry's chest. And he's also good enough to hopefully not crater out what other weapons there are on this team. Behind him, you've got Will Levis and Malik Willis, the two heir apparents, theoretically. At one point, there was a conversation that Malik Willis might not even make the team. I think he probably will at this point. Neither of them are rosterable. And I'm not talking about in drafts. I mean, like, even if Ryan Tannehill flames out, are you excited about either? Is anyone excited about either of those two players? I mean, theoretically, Malik Willis is fast.
Yeah, but even he had chances to do that last year, and it didn't really show up worth anything.
Did he look bad?
It was bad. It was really, really bad.
I was trying to be somewhat gentle about it.
No, you can't really do that when they went out. It was so bad that they went out and drafted another quarterback in Will Levis the next year. That's how little commitment they have.
In a higher round than they drafted Willis.
Yeah. So Willis has got the deck stacked against him.
The only thing he's got going for him is he doesn't put mayo in his coffee.
Yes. And Will Levis, actually, the highlight on Will Levis was that he signed a lifetime deal with Hellman's Mayonnaise today, which is vile. When you know what he's going to do with the mayonnaise, that's disgusting. My advice would be don't Google what we're talking about because you will likely be sickened by it. And if you're not, you might be a monster. You should really check in on that.
The best comparable for Ryan Tannehill is Captain Jack Sparrow. He's not the best at anything, and he's not the worst, but he's mobile enough when he has to run. No? Doesn't have the jar dirt.
I'm really struggling with that.
Not a Pirates of the Caribbean? Okay,
I've seen the first couple movies, but I'm just trying to wrap my head around where that was supposed to go.
Yeah, I'm having the trouble with the correlation.
I feel like you were trying to go for a "but you have heard of me" reference. But if you were going to do that, why wouldn't you just do it? Like, instead of coming at it from the side angle, sign up for importantnonsense.com. Get access to our Discord. More gems like that, because that's the level of content that we strive for here. So there's really no optimism around the quarterback position itself. You're just hoping that whoever it is doesn't crash the car as it relates to everyone else. Derrick Henry, still here, still on the team. The rumors of Derrick Henry's death have been greatly exaggerated. Opens the year as the RB7, should be going at about 9 overall by ranking, is going ADP 19. The reason I think that's happening is because this is the year of the overreaction to wide receiver. So all the top-end wide receivers are inflated. It's creating values at running back, and Derrick Henry's value is getting depressed because of it. There's also the idea that he's getting up there, right, Mike?
Oh, well, it's the same story we've heard every single year for the past 2 or 3 years at this point.
Here comes the cliff.
It's got to happen at some point.
It's going to happen.
It does. It is going to eventually happen. It happened to Tom Brady even just last year. Where
it happened to Adrian Peterson.
Yeah. I mean, these guys are great athletes. They're phenomenal shape, everything else. Father Time is still technically undefeated. So you can prolong it as much as you want. And we know that Derrick Henry could easily, not even be very surprised at all to be RB1 next season.
Wouldn't even blink at it.
Yeah, that could easily happen. But he also could be drafted in the second round of your draft and either whether it be injury or just actually having the inefficiency catch up to him, not be very good and be a 6-round deficit of what you actually get in terms of production. Both things are very possible. He is a very volatile player, not in a week-to-week basis, but in an overall season basis. He's not like a Tyler Lockett, boom bust type thing. He could crap the bed this season, or he could be top 3 RB, and you get a heck of a value in the second round.
Yep.
I haven't
gonna-
had Derrick Henry on my team ever. Not because I didn't want him, but because I either did not fall into the draft slot high enough to be able to draft him when he was in his prime, or I just was like, hey, I'll take my chance with another guy.
I've been doing this long enough to when Derrick Henry was in a committee and I could get him at a value. So I have had Derrick Henry on my team at numerous spots and was fortunate enough to roster him the year he finally just buried everyone else and just took the job away. And then, yes, it got way too expensive and it's been hard to get him back since then. This year, I will say, Mike, I agree with the broad point, right? Which is the range of outcomes is so severe that it makes wanting to spend a second round pick a little scary. The one thing that you could hang your hat on this year is, as much as this team doesn't change its roster very much, they did add a running back, which is Tajay Spears.
Yeah, they did.
And Tajay Spears has been impressive in the preseason. He wasn't my favorite prospect coming into the league, but he's looked good in the preseason, so good for him, right? The one thing that I will say about this,
two ACLs.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, he's here for a good
And
time.
he looks great.
Like Tajay's here for a good time.
I just heard that and I was like, wait, he literally
Yeah.
doesn't have.
He has no ACLs, which could actually be a benefit to him because you can't tear what you don't have. No, I will say Tajay Spears is here for a good time, not a long time. I am not a fan of Tajay Spears in Dynasty. Stay away in Dynasty. Do not like, no wanty. Very, very scary thing in Dynasty because he's one more knee injury away from selling cars. Like, he's going to be done. However, for redraft, which is the point of this, I'm good, baby. He looks really fast right now. I don't need you to be fast for your career in redraft, man. I need you to be fast today. And from what we've seen in the preseason, he looks fast. He looks strong, too. So, with that, he opens the season, I think largely because he has 2 missing ACLs, and he's playing behind Derrick Henry. He opens the season as the RB61, which would translate to 190 overall. His ADP is 165. I don't care. That's perfect handcuff territory. So I'm actually a little bit more bullish on Derrick Henry this year because I can get a quality handcuff. And it's not gonna cost me much.
Well, I mean,
Hassan Haskins, Darrington Evans. Yeah, it's a slight uptick from there.
I think it's a little more than a slight uptick than Hassan Haskins, but I think Hassan Haskins sucks. Hassan Haskins, by the way, still on this team. I'm not a fan. As you heard from my super eloquent analysis of Hassan Haskins sucks.
I don't think the Titans are a fan either.
Yeah, they're not. No. But they do seem to like Spears from the preseason and from the fact that they were willing to take him with knowing that he has no ACLs. So it's like I'm willing to roll the dice on this, largely because I feel like this, with the range and outcomes, with the discount that you're getting from Henry, if I can also get Spears, and I can because it's very, very inexpensive, I'm willing to get both and run my team this way. I will live with this. I will live with this reality. I will say this. I wouldn't blame anyone if they said, yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm going to wait and try to get a non-Derrick Henry running back like a James Conner or a Joe Mixon or an Aaron Jones a round or two later. Wouldn't blame you. Wouldn't blame you. Couldn't argue against it. But I am saying that I would be willing to, if it was just Derrick Henry and nothing again, like it has been for a long time and nothing of quality behind him, I would be all out on this. But because there's Spears, I'm willing to engage in this, but I really want to get both. This is not a Seahawks thing where you've got to spend a 3rd round pick and an 8th round pick. I'm not doing that. That's too expensive. This is like a 2nd round pick and then end of my draft. I can get something that I think is of quality.
And I mean, if Henry's healthy, he's going to see 300 carries. Like that's pretty much guaranteed.
Even if he's not healthy,
is bad.
Even if he's not healthy, he might still see 300 carries. Like,
well, they have Tajay to kind of offset that now. That's the only. I mean, so they could actually realistically have him not carry it so many times a game and be able to use Tajay to kind of offset that.
Maybe.
I know it's a long shot, but
I think overall, I don't want to put words in your mouth, Mike, but the way I'm interpreting what you're saying is you're gonna just probably let all of that go to someone else and let someone else deal with that headache.
I mean, it's more than likely. Yeah, I'm probably
Yeah.
not going to have unless Henry drops to even a more value of an ADP. Like you're getting us, you're top of the draft in a 12 team as we have like 1, 2, 3 or something along those lines. If you can get like a Justin Jefferson or an Austin Eckler, and then come back around at the very end of the second and grab a Derrick Henry, I mean, phenomenal. You're happy.
Yeah, you're loving life at that point. Your team, your anchors of your team are
such
coming
an
together.
upside there for Derrick Henry because as we've been saying, if he's healthy and on the field, maybe if he's unhealthy and still on the field, he's going to get 300 plus touches.
Well, I mean,
and even
last
year,
in 2021, he was RB22. So
when he caught more passes last year than people realized.
That's what I was about to say. He had over 30 catches last year for the first time. He had over 20 for the first time in his career.
Right, and it just happened to also be over 30.
Yeah,
that's how screwed up that is,
man.
He
doubled his previous career high in.
That is screwed up that he's been that prolific and has caught those few passes in modern football. It's unbelievable. He's kind of the last of a dying breed.
He still averaged over 12 yards a catch. That's pretty good.
I know, it's pretty solid. And now we'll go to wide receiver.
Where it is not nice and neat.
Which is not nice and neat. But they brought in DeAndre Hopkins. I'm not happy about it. I've been very annoyed by this. I was hoping he would go to the Patriots, so I wouldn't have to deal with this with my stupid Treylon Burks shares in Dynasty. But whatever, that's my problem. DeAndre Hopkins, it's a weird one, man. He's on the Titans. We've already talked about it. Probably going to be a bad team, bad defense, bad quarterback. Opens the year as the wide receiver 20, which should translate to about 55 overall by ADP. Is going 49 overall.
Because of the name.
Because his name is DeAndre Hopkins. It says Hopkins on the back of the jersey. Anybody interested in DeAndre Hopkins in the
5th round?
Number 1 pick of the 5th round? That's in unison.
That
was awesome. That was awesome. All right.
Ooh. Well, I mean, you're looking like Hopkins is obviously a great talent. Has been one of the best wide receivers for years in the league.
Top 5 wide receiver for a long time.
And he's not unaccustomed to playing with bad quarterbacks
or on bad teams.
Yep. Between Houston and Arizona, he has done it before, been there, done that. He's also getting kind of old.
He is getting.
He played well last year in Arizona, even with guys like Colt McCoy and Trace McSorley and so on throwing him the ball. We remember him having like Tom Savage and them throwing passes in Houston. But I don't know. It's just, I think that between this offense, which we have said runs through Derrick Henry as in the A target or the A option and the B option, then there's still a gap, and then there's the C option, which will probably be Hopkins. So it's just a low volume passing offense. If we don't think much of anything with Tannehill, because obviously last year wasn't his best year, but he hasn't exactly been great. Like AJ Brown was on the team, and Brown played well, but wasn't a fantasy stud. He was doing it on efficiency.
Yeah,
Hopkins is not going to do this on efficiency. That's just not happening. It's not really ever been his game is to be an efficient wide receiver. He's been a target monster, touchdown machine, things along those lines. Well, we know that when they get close to the red zone, it's probably going to Derrick Henry. It's probably not going in the air. So touchdowns, upsides capped. Yardage, just because they aren't the biggest passing offense, is going to be capped. And also, Hopkins' game isn't doing an after the catch type thing. It's all adding up to be a very risky, likely solid play each week, but I don't think you have too many boom, high volume, high production type weeks in Hopkins this season.
I think the days of him putting up 20, that's over. We're not doing that anymore. And do you have do you put any credence into the idea that a lot of people last year were watching him play and the big comment was, it looks like he's lost a step? Not like he can't play anymore. It's just he doesn't have the full burst that he used to have. Like, he's never been the fastest guy but I don't know if maybe he was just on the Cardinals and just didn't care, or if that's more like he actually is getting older and he's not quite able to generate the separation he used to.
I just think that in general, yeah, he probably isn't the same wide receiver he's been in years past. Am I saying he's a terrible wide receiver at this point? No, he's a good wide receiver still. He's catching a lot of passes in training camp because Treylon Burks isn't really doing a whole lot because of his injury.
Well, there's a reason for that. We'll get into it here in a moment.
Yeah, and I think it's being overblown, his training camp hype of him catching everything. I just think it's just people talking about his name.
Yeah.
So I think that this ADP is based a lot on the name on the back of the jersey.
And his historical performances that people have seen. I think we all agree, for the most part, nobody's trying to pay the first pick of the 5th round for DeAndre Hopkins on the Titans. It's not a thing I want to do. I'm going to go ahead and let somebody else do that. Especially because, if I'm honest, this is one of those things where Mike, Jason, you guys know this. There's always going to be that guy in your room that's like ride or die DeAndre Hopkins and probably is willing to take him at some point in the 4th. And I'm like, I'm not touching that.
By all means, go ahead.
Yeah, you guys, you knock yourself out, sir and or madam. You can't assume anymore, Jason. It's not the 90s. We can't assume.
I've seen our numbers. The only people watching this are male.
Mm,
It's been rough.
probably, actually. Probably.
And also, this team only threw 436 times last year, and the year before that was 535. I mean, neither one of those. I mean, 535 is closer to average, but that 436 is rough.
Yeah, it caps the upside for all the wide receivers, especially the next guy we're going to talk about, because it's Treylon Burks, and my disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined. Curse you, Treylon. How dare you have ligaments in your knee and bones. Treylon Burks had a really disappointing season last year's rookie season, from asthma to the team being bad to him getting hurt and then missing time, and it just nothing lined up the right way. So this year, he shows up looking better in minicamp, looking faster, got the asthma issues under control. As somebody who deals with asthma myself, I can personally attest, not fun. When you're having flare-ups, you're not yourself. Like, it's not a lot of fun. So they changed his medication. They got him something else. He seemed like he was adjusting to that. That was good. He wasn't sucking wind on the sideline like he was in his first year. And he was healthy. The arrow was pointing up on Treylon Burks. Then they signed DeAndre Hopkins. And that throws some cold water on that right there. And then, about a week ago, Treylon Burks sprains his LCL. And that's like a 6-week injury. And he can't really do anything. So, messes up his knee. And he's just kind of stuck at this point. Despite that, he opens the season as the wide receiver 42, which should translate to about 93 overall. His actual ADP is 96. Honey, no. You got a confluence of factors that make that a bad idea from where I'm sitting. And I'll let you guys hash it out. But the number one would be this. Historically, this team doesn't throw enough passes to support 2 pass catchers. Not in a meaningful way. And I've got data on that going back to when, like, 2014. Like, we can go back basically a decade. And it's like, even when it was A.J. Brown and Delaney Walker, this team does not throw enough. That's not this team. They don't throw enough historically to support multiple pass catchers on a regular basis. Sure, there are outliers where things happen and they can keep it going. But really, you're not going to get more than 2. So the question becomes, is it Nuke and is it Chig, who we'll get into in a second at the tight end spot? Or is it Nuke and it's Treylon? Because I don't see how you're going to get 3 when they could barely support 2. And then what did we just talk about with Derrick Henry? He got additional targets last year. Do we see that repeat? I think we might, because it was effective. So I don't know, man. I just know that I stand by with Treylon Burks. My disappointment is immeasurable. And my day is ruined because I roster him in Dynasty because I liked him coming out of college. And usually I got a better eye for things than this, but with this one, the stars are aligning that this is not going well 2 years in for Burks. It could be better.
I mean, even if you give both him and Hopkins over 100 targets, which is impressive for
Exceedingly generous.
Yeah,
Correct.
It'd be half their offense, the passing
Yes,
attack
I
is going
still
to that.
I can barely get Hopkins to wide receiver 24 and Burks to wide receiver 48. Like, that's rough.
I mean, if you look at it, so last year he had one game over 70 receiving yards,
Mm-hmm.
and it was that big game against Green Bay where he had multiple deep shots. It was just all things coming together for him. The only problem is, as we said, he's coming into the season injured. He is now the number 2 because last year he was by far the most talented.
He was supposed to be the new A.J. Brown. That was the point. And then they fired their GM because they realized that wasn't going to work.
Yeah, Woods actually ended up catching the most targets last year.
Yeah, so his target competition last year was Robert Woods, Kyle Phillips, and Nickakun Westbrook-Ikhine.
All dreadful. All dreadful.
Now
all
it's
bad.
DeAndre Hopkins, which I know we just said we're not expecting as much from him this season, but he's still better than Treylon. He's still better than all those other players that were just
towers
listed.
over most of those other people.
So the big difference between who's going to be the number 2 or who you want as the number 2 receiving option on this team with Chig versus Treylon Burks is going to be positional value instead of, and also ADP. Positional value and ADP. Treylon Burks is not going to hit his ADP in terms of production this season unless it drops drastically.
Treylon Burks is going in the 8th round. Here are some players that go right around Treylon Burks. Jordan Addison. I'd much rather have Jordan Addison.
Yeah.
Gabe Davis. JSN.
I'd still take the upside of Davis,
Yeah, I would take Davis as well, even though I'm not a big Davis guy. JSN, who we just talked about a couple days ago. Don't love that, but I'd probably still...
also dealing with injury.
Yeah, that's kind of a push. Cortland Sutton, who, if all the reports are on track, he looks way healthier. He looks like he's actually healthy for the first time in 3 years.
Insert training camp story about best...
yeah.
looking best out of his entire career.
My knee is better.
Physical shape is best he's ever had.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah.
But still, okay.
And playing the Michael Thomas role.
But playing the Michael Thomas role in a Sean Payton offense. Probably lean Sutton there.
That's the other narrative there.
Then there is Michael Thomas.
Still taking him, yeah.
Yeah. Then there's Elijah Moore.
Now we're
that one scares me.
Yeah.
I don't really want. Go ahead, Mike.
That's because
I definitely don't want Elijah Moore.
I don't want either.
That's an I go to a different position.
Yeah, I don't want either. I don't want him. I'd prefer JSN, but that's also I'm like, I don't know that I want that. I'd rather have Sutton, rather have Thomas, and then the last one is Juju Smith-Schuster, and I'd much rather have Juju Smith-Schuster. That's not even close.
All the targets, yeah.
Yeah, the number 1 receiver on the Patriots who will play out of the slot. Yeah, give me Juju, coming off a productive year last year. Hell, man, you could wait half a round and get Sky Moore if that floats your boat.
Also potentially playing in the slot for.
So that's kind of my point. Is like, I don't see what universe Treylon Burks is going to be able to return an 8th round pick. What would need to happen? He's already hurt. Hopkins needs to get hurt.
Henry probably not. Be a little banged up.
Maybe.
Chig potentially being banged up.
Chig just doesn't play. Just not playing.
If Hopkins is on the field, Burks is 0 chance of hitting his ADP.
Yeah. So we just got done saying we're tempering expectations for Hopkins and that his ADP is too high. This is stupid. So far on this team, there's one thing I'm willing to recommend, and there's 0 things I think Mike Manning is willing to recommend.
There's 2.
I think that's literally
things.
We've done this for half an hour, and we've got precious little information here, folks. It's basically that we hate the Titans.
We love their running backs. Is the real story here.
You and I are on that island.
Oh yeah, I guess that's true. Mike's fine with it if you get a running back in the first round.
Yeah.
I'm okay. I'm okay with taking Derrick Henry in the second. I'm just going to sit there and be like, I'm probably not doing it often, but I don't blame anybody doing it based
Yeah.
on his historical production. I mean, if you'll know pretty soon probably whether you just lost your draft or lost your league in the second round, or if you just got a great
You
value
might
at
have won
running
it.
back.
You
Yeah.
might have literally won it. Yeah. Uh, and no one's excited about the quarterbacks or the pass catchers so far. Nobody. Because anything behind Burks is truly useless. It's Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, who we've seen have a cup of coffee in the NFL. He's a guy. Kyle Phillips
He might have more
could be.
letters in his name than he does receptions.
Yeah, exactly. Kyle Phillips could be somebody one day if he could stop getting hurt.
He had flashes last year.
He always has flashes, then he gets hurt. He had flashes in the
He was
preseason this year, and he
yeah.
got hurt again. And that's Kyle Phillips. Kyle Phillips is just a lump of potential. Could be something if he could ever actually get on the field in a meaningful way, but can't. And then there's Chris Moore, professional NFL player Chris Moore, who has knocked around the league. And that's all
Had
you can
that
really say
one
about
game
Chris Moore.
last year with Houston, I think.
Yeah,
It was like
but he's
over
been in
100
the
yards
league
and a
forever.
touchdown.
Yeah, but he's been in the league for a lot longer than that. He's knocked around for a while. Like that's why I refer to him as that way, as pro NFL player Chris Moore. He is just that, but he's not fantasy relevant. The only other thing that you might get excited about, if your name is Jason, possibly Mike, I've heard you reference this in the past. Would anyone like to attempt to pronounce the guy's full name? Because we've referenced him. We just call him Chig. I usually just call him Chig Okonkwo. Does anyone want to take a poke at actually pronouncing this guy's full name? Because I've never been able to do it successfully.
I mean,
can't
I haven't heard it said full
Yeah.
since I believe
Yeah.
the draft, like the
The last
NFL
time we
draft
heard
he
it.
was drafted.
So-
I mean, obviously it's always been said Chig Okonkwo, or just Okonkwo, Chigoziem.
Yeah, that'd be where I'd go.
It's probably Chigoziem. We'll stick with Chig Okonkwo because
Yeah.
that's what most people refer to him as, or possibly just Okonkwo.
The conch.
So real quick, and I'll let you guys chop it up on this. Trying to recapture that Delaney Walker magic. One of these days it will actually get it right. Couldn't have been Jonnu Smith couldn't do it, but maybe Chig can. Opens the season as the tight end 13, should be going at around 132 overall. Actual ADP is going at 124 overall. So the hype is real. People are in on Chig. Doesn't really float my boat per se. I'm gonna close where I started. I want Derrick Henry and handcuff it to Spears, and I'm done with the Titans. That's my whole 30 minutes. That's what it was.
Yeah, I also have Chig at tight end 13. So I mean, you can get there, but again, you're really hoping they pass more than. I guess I have it at 508 currently for total passing attempts. So
I see the upside. He led the NFL for tight ends in yards per route run last year because he was crazy efficient. If all they did was just get the ball in his hands and let him do Chig things after the catch, which was fun to watch. So
pretty effective at times.
Yeah, is there a foreseeable future where we see him vault his way up to, mid tight end 1, back end tight end 1? Definitely. So he's just one of those late round tight ends where, if you sit there and wait and don't get the Andrews or Kelsey, then you're looking at obviously Chig, Tyler Higbee, Gerald Everett,
Cole Kmet.
reasonable. Yeah, Cole Kmet.
Juwan.
So
Juwan is still down. Juwan should be
so
higher.
late. I love it.
Juwan should be higher, actually, but that's a conversation for the wrap-up show.
Cashing it, baby.
So yeah.
I agree with all that. On the way out here, I'll ask you a straight question. Chig or Kincaid?
It's not close.
No, that's a question for Mike, because I know this would be. I remember the Buffalo show that we did with Mike. I want to see if I can get him to split him apart here.
The big thing is even this past preseason game in the preseason for Kincaid, he has lined up, I think, 13 snaps at wide receiver and 6 snaps in line. So and like one in the backfield or something.
That's why I'm bringing this up, because you have more data now.
So that makes it hard because, I mean, such a better offense. I think I'd go Kincaid.
Okay. It's really close, by the way, for the folks that are actually listening to this. As I said, Chig was the tight end 13. Kincaid has moved up to the tight end 15, largely, I think, because of these preseason games for what you referenced, Mike. Because that's why I wanted to bring this up to you, because I know you were really high on Kincaid going all the way back to our Buffalo show weeks ago. And I'm sure we'll revisit this conversation on the final live stream. But I was just curious if that's moved the needle. It's really close. I wouldn't blame anybody for going one way or the other, per se. So it's just something
Knox
that
die? Did I miss Knox dying?
Knox doesn't line up at wide receiver.
Dawson Knox?
Yes.
Yeah, Dawson Knox is bad. So there is that.
He's the red zone threat now.
Dawson Knox is now under Hunter Henry, tight end 23, because people can't stop loving Kincaid. Can't stop, won't stop.
Hardy's been fine in the slot for them, but I do think that Kincaid's going to see plenty of slot snaps. He's going to see snaps at wide receiver. I like the usage that they've had with him with the first team offense. So,
oh, that's right. Jason wasn't on the Bills show where we had a 15-minute conversation about the merits of Dalton Kincaid. That was Mike Berlin. I completely forgot about this. Yeah, that was a 15-minute.
This would have been a very long back and forth.
No, it was a 15-minute cul-de-sac, actually, where we just went in a big old circle because we didn't have enough data points. By the way, Jason, I just looked it up. Dawson Knox has fallen out of draftable range. He no longer has an ADP. He's been pronounced dead. R.I.P. the career of Dawson Knox. It's all about Dalton Kincaid now, baby. That's what we're doing.
Dawson Knox is like the new Lee Smith in Buffalo.
Ooh, that's a good one.
That's a good deep cut. Sit there in line and stop people from getting towards Josh Allen or the running back.
God, 1996 called and it wants its reference back. That's amazing. But yeah, Dawson Knox is now firmly down the page. Kincaid has been moving up, and so has Sam Laporta, and Greg Dulcich has plummeted, and we will talk about that on the wrap-up show at length because I am contractually obligated to do so. So that is
breaking your soul, isn't it, Neil?
There's nothing I can do about it. I can't stop the fact that Sean Payton is a crazy man who loves Adam Troutman, and it tears up my loves because I went and graduated from the University of Dayton. Adam Troutman played at the University of Dayton. Do you have any idea how hard it is to be a pro NFL player that played your college ball at UD? It doesn't happen. It's not possible. I'm contractually obligated to really love Adam Troutman, but I also really like Greg Dulcich's game. So I'm torn.
You like his hair.
I'm torn here. I wish I had that hairline. I'd kill for that hairline. That's
something impressive.
Look, I'll tell you what. We'll see what his hairline looks like when he's 36. That's what we'll do. We'll cycle back around on that.
He's still gonna have that mane grown, man.
He might.
It'll be the Paul Malu look.
He might.
His hair still looks good.
It does. There's a reason he gets to keep doing shampoo commercials, even though he's like 42 or whatever old he is now. No. What's that stupid reference from Archer? My hair is so thick that my barber charges me double. That's Troy Polamalu. That's his actual life. We have firmly gone off the rails here at the end of the Titans show, and thank God for that because there's nothing else to discuss as it relates to the Titans.
Gotcha.
Yeah, there's nothing left. The Titans is woof. Tune in tomorrow for something that I think will actually be significantly more interesting with many, many more polarizing players. The final podcast of 32 teams in 32 days. And if you have watched all of these and you're not a Discord member, I don't know what's wrong with you.
Congratulations.
And also, thank you.
Impressive feat, I guess.
Thank you as an aside, by the way. Shout out to my mom. Because that's who am I kidding? My mom doesn't know enough about football to actually sit through this. But yeah, there have been people that have tuned into every single one of them, and shout out to you. Sign up for our Discord and keep us.
We just welcomed Bears Dan back.
We did welcome Bears Dan back. Bears Dan is back. He's back in the building. We might also have somebody else back from last year, Jason. That it's not confirmed yet, but it's one of your personal favorites. Might be coming back here in the background, but for the final show, tune in tomorrow. We break down the Washington Commanders. And until then, keep up the nonsense.
I'm Tim Kitzrow from NBA Jam and NFL Blitz, and you can find all the guys at ImportantNonsense.com. Kaboom!